Welcome to Collecting Consciousness, where we aim to capture the ever-expanding and evolving conscious creations that originate from the minds of fellow podcasters, strangers, dear friends, and loved ones.
In this podcast, we will expand on our inner wisdom and a coming home to self. From our conscious minds to yours, we welcome you to the Collecting Consciousness.
So welcome back to another episode of Collecting Consciousness. And we are here with a really special guest today that we will introduce in just a little bit. But first, we're going to get started with some breath work just to drop into our bodies, kind of clear our minds, calm our nervous systems. So wherever you are at, if it is available to you, I just invite you to gently close your eyes. So allowing your eyelids to rest gently down, taking the attention from the outer landscape into your inner landscape. And as we bring our awareness inside, we may start to notice areas of our body where we're holding some tension, maybe in our shoulders, maybe in our bellies, maybe on our forehead or along our jawline. Wherever you are experiencing these points of tension, I want you to, for the moment, just allow them to be what they are. Not judging them, not trying to shift them, not trying to change anything, allowing it to be what it is. Now I invite you to tune into your breath. So noticing its rate, the rhythm, the depth. And wherever your breath is at in this moment, just allowing it to be what it is. No judgment. And on your next inhale, I want to invite you to soften your belly. Bring your breath a little bit deeper. Filling the belly with this fresh prana, life force energy, allowing the breath to now expand the lungs. Bring the chest open nice and big. And when you get to the very top of your breath, I want you to pause for just a moment, feeling the stillness that is available to us in each and every breath. And on the exhale, I want you to sigh it all out. Allowing the breath to fully leave your body. We're going to take another deep inhale. So softening the belly even more this time, bringing even more breath deep down into the belly. Allowing that fresh breath, that prana to fill your chest, allowing the chest to rise and expand as big as you possibly can. And when you get to the very top of this breath, I want you to pause and bask in the stillness that is available to us. And on the exhale, I want you to sigh out every worry, every tension, all of your breath. And on the next inhale, I want you to take the biggest, deepest inhale that you have taken all day. So bringing the breath deep into the belly, allowing the belly to expand and soften, allowing the chest to fill and rise with this expansive prana, life force energy. And when you get to the top of this breath, I invite you to pause for just a moment, feeling the stillness that is available to us at all times. And on the exhale, I want you to sigh everything out. Leave it all behind. And now returning to your natural breath. Maybe now you notice that the breath is just breathing you instead of you breathing the breath. I invite you to check back in with those areas within the physical body that held tension, maybe noting that they feel softer and more relaxed. And I invite you now to place one hand on your heart, followed by the other if this feels good for you. We're going to allow Courtney to infuse our consciousness and our space with a prayer and intention for the episode.
Thank you, Bethany. Welcome back to the Collecting Consciousness, a space where minds share ideas, perspectives, wisdom, a deep inner knowing. We call forth a raw authenticity to be shared to all, welcoming in the balancing act of divine masculine and divine feminine energy that we all hold within us. We welcome you to wonder, inspire, create, be all that we are, perfectly imperfect beings that are connected through more ways than we know how. We welcome our guest. We welcome his deep inner knowing, his trust of self. We welcome you all to the experience to be had. Focus in on that breath, breathing in and breathing out, creating an openness within, allowing that to shine outward. We welcome you to Collecting Consciousness. Take your time coming back to the present moment, allowing your eyes to flutter open, your fingers and your toes to move. Feel what it feels like to be in your body. It is so important to be in the body. So from our hearts to yours, we welcome you, we welcome you, we welcome you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Court.
Thanks, Bethany. Thanks, Shane.
So, just a little quick introduction on our guest, Shane Ali, that we have with us today. I feel super honored that our paths have continued to intertwine from even such a great distance, but I met Shane back in 2019 at an ayahuasca retreat ceremony, and feel super privileged to have you in our space today to talk deeply and rawly and really about your journey here on this planet as a human being, just trying to process life and all the things that it throws at us. And I think that you have a very unique story that is also very similar to maybe many of those out there. So me and Courtney are both excited to unpack your journey, take little pieces of it and expand upon it, and see whatever else falls, in line for us to talk about. So I think our first question is, though, just to kind of clear your heart and your mind. Is there anything that's on the forefront of your heart and mind that you're like super excited about, or that you're like really, worried about, or it can be anything, on the spectrum, but just what is there for you?
Yeah, as is always like the case, just shifts happening, But nowadays, I try to allow them, and I try not to really judge what's happening, and I also sort of try not to desire any specific outcome. So, for instance, if an opportunity is presented to me, I go, okay, there's this thing here, and like I could get very excited about it, but I've learned to like temper my expectations, when it comes to these things, but still being very present and appreciating them. So there's some opportunities that are bubbling up in my life right now that I'm just like being very present for and just sort of allowing and trusting and, sort of knowing come what may, everything's all good, because I'm still breathing, I'm still alive. So, I don't worry. I don't worry anymore, though, to answer that question. That's a real easy one. I don't worry, and like our brains will do stuff and thoughts will come in, but like I've gotten so good at being like, no, we're not doing that, like we're, so I don't worry about anything because again, every second I'm alive, I'm good, and I just try to keep shit in perspective whenever it gets a little sideways, like, okay, I'm still breathing, I'm still alive, let's go, so I don't worry about anything. I trust God.
Yes, we're resilient beings, when we truly step into the trusting of the balance of this world, of this life, there is hardships, there is beauty, there is everything in between. So, there's one of a podcaster, a guy that I've seen lately, Peter Crone. Something that's really stuck with me lately is rather than let it go, let it be. Like accepting things for what they are. And another, my energy healer, she likes to keep her hands open with open palms, allowing things to come in, and when it's time for them to go, they just go. It's truly a balance. So thank you, Shane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do the same thing in the morning. Same thing. I'm receiving and releasing right here. Right here. Your magic wand.
Detaching.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And, this might be jumping a little bit ahead, and I definitely want to unpack this more. But, just being aware of your thoughts is like a huge skill to sharpen in this lifetime, because a lot of us are just like on this autopilot in our minds, and the reels are spinning, and we're just like participating in it. And so I feel like your meditation practice, from what I know just briefly of what you're into, your meditation practice has helped you to be able to be the observer of those thoughts and not get taken down those wormholes,
Yes, so
worry.
To me, this is what sort of like meditation is all about. So many things, right? But this whole thing about like our monkey minds are going to go nuts on us, right? And throughout the day, when we're doing things, we think we're doing this one thing, but meanwhile we're being controlled and manipulated by this thing that's doing its own thing, right? And most of us aren't even aware of it. But you're right. If you can begin to become aware of it in the present moment, then you can redirect it, and that's where the practice comes in, because you're sitting in that moment still with yourself in this meditation, and you're having these thoughts. So first of all, you're recognizing like I'm feeling fearful, or I'm feeling anxious, or worried about the future, or regretful about the past, or there's this relationship, or whatever. And these thoughts are just coming constantly. So sitting with yourself in meditation, first of all, is allowing yourself to have those thoughts and recognizing them, because they need to be recognized, right? It's not about clearing the mind of all these things initially. You have to recognize them first, and then how do you redirect? It's just like weightlifting. So now you recognize the thought, and so now you have to say, okay, bring it back. And that's why the breath is so important, because it's always there, and so we can always focus on it. So if we're having trouble redirecting to something that we think we want to think about instead of the things that are nagging at us, after we call them out, we can come back to our breath, breathing in, breathing out. And it can be just that simple of a redirect. Now, that's a very simple, basic way to do it. But if you sit and practice it every single day, you become more and more proficient at it. Meaning, when you go into the world and things are dicey, you can always just come right back to your breath. And again, it's not about avoiding the other thoughts. In fact, my meditation every morning is really about 15 or 20 minutes of my mind going nuts.
Yeah.
I am sitting there. I am thinking about all the things, How does my shoulder feel? Why do I feel a little lonely today? What that thing, my mother said really pissed me off. Why? And how can I change my way of perceiving that interaction? And so like the first 15 or 20 minutes, I'm really holding myself accountable, and I'm allowing myself to feel all the things. However, I recognized them, after I had fully felt them, the annoyance, the fear, the anger, the regret, after I had fully felt them, and yes, it's an uncomfortable thing to go through. You don't want to sit there and be fucking anxious or sad. But if you just give yourself some fucking time to feel it right there in that moment, then you can go through it and start to come back to your breath. And then after 15 or 20 minutes, there's, for me personally, after some breathing and visualization and mantras, there is a feeling of great peace and connection with everything. And it didn't start there when I sat down. I had to go through that little process first, but every single morning, I just did it, 45 minutes ago, every single morning. And so this is where everybody's own personal journey begins.
Yes.
What are you going to do? What are you going to prioritize? Now, listen, the secrets have all been told. There are so many tools. We know meditation has been used for millennia by all the greats. So the first thing I recommend to anybody is to start a daily meditative practice. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just get it going, and then it will evolve over time.
Yes, it's beautiful. When I started my meditation journey, it was during COVID. And I remember that I was like struggling with calming the mind, X, Y, and Z. So I put it aside, but then I wanted to come back to it. And I just like, there was an in and out phase, but then it was like realizing, talking to people, oh, meditation doesn't just have to be sitting down and sitting in silence. Meditation can be mindfully eating. It can be in the shower and you were paying attention to where the heat feels most warm on your body. And then that brought me into guided meditations. And then I was able to listen to somebody bring me into a guided state. And then boom, I started back with sound and then just silence. It truly is whatever you want to make it. And it's acceptance. It's acceptance for your thoughts, your patterns, for seeing yourself, your whole self. And it truly is, there's no right or wrong way to meditate. But I agree with you. It is one of the most important, crucial aspects because it allows you to sit with yourself. How many people have we just like dissociated and got out of our body, got out of our minds, got out of our heart spaces? It's coming into the state of being who we are. We are enough as we are. And it's just sitting and settling in our body that makes us perfect.
It's just being present. It's practicing presence. And so, you mentioned the shower or whatever, you're washing dishes. And yes, you in theory, you would get to the point to where you're sort of always present, no matter what I'm sitting in a library right now. I'm standing in the shower. I see all the things. So it feels good, whatever. So you would hope to get to a point to where, to a large degree, you could hold on to that and remain present in your moment to moment, life. But that sitting still and practicing that, I think, is a great value in order to do the other thing, in order to get to the other thing, to where you're really able to be present with all the activities and things throughout the whole day. Because if you're not practicing, it's going to be very hard to do it, in the chaos of life. But if you sit every morning and sit still and you practice it and practice it every single morning, then slowly over time you begin to have more and more of those moments throughout the day. So it's impossible to stay there always, unless you're in some ashram in the mountains in India and you've got nowhere to go and nothing to do. But we live in the first world country. That's not very realistic. So it's going to be practical about this stuff as well. But the sitting still and practicing gets you capable in the game.
As simple as it is, practice makes perfect. It's being consistent. It is just showing up. I mean, that's ultimately, we want to show up for ourselves, because when we show up for ourselves, we can show up in this world. We can be present. We can be there for others. But it's so important to take care of self. I cannot stress that enough. Like, that is what I do and feel, and it's what is important to me. Bethany, what's your meditation practice like? Just out of curiosity.
Well, okay. Well, I don't do it every day, so I'll be really honest. But I will say that the experience that I've had in my lifetime with it, I'm less of a guided journeying meditator. I really thoroughly, I've done mantra with beadwork, using a mala and doing just intentional with every bead. Like I've done that style. And I also just really appreciate the simplicity of what Shane's saying. It's just sitting with your thoughts, sitting with your monkey mind, sitting. And I love, Shane, what you even said about taking it even deeper, which I don't think I've ever done, feeling the feels of those thoughts, because that's the deeper work, because we really numb out our emotions, and then people aren't familiar with their emotions, and we are definitely struggling with emotional intelligence on this planet majorly right now, because we have been instructed or guided to just cruise by and not drop into your heart, not drop into your body, not feel those things in your nervous system. And so doing it in a safe, healthy, meditative practice is like a really beautiful thing that you just brought up. I thought that was like really just next level for me, with like just the sitting with the thoughts, but then taking it into those feelings when those thoughts come up that are uncomfortable or sad or lonely or angry, and allowing that to surge through your body, feel it, and then let it process. Like it's huge. That's huge. That was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can take it to another level, if I may.
Please do.
So then now you're in this thing, So now you're feeling the heavy sadness. We're going to go with an example. You're feeling the heavy sadness now from the relationship or from the loss or from whatever, right? And so now you also have to have the tools now to be able to work your way through that, right? So we don't want to get stuck in that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, now we're just deep in this mess. But now you've got to extricate yourself from it. And so now how do you do that? And that takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot, in my case, reparenting, right? A lot of changing my inner dialogue, compassion and patience with myself and my process. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And a
definitely.
lot of self-reassurance. It's okay. You're still
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Just like you would say to a child.
Literally.
It's okay. And to this day, I say to myself, it's okay about 100 times a day. It's okay. Man, this dude cut me off in traffic, whatever, dude. It's up. I might still fucking scream at him, have to put him off. But then, like a second later, I'm like, okay, wait, it's okay. It's not going to ruin my day and shit. That's a human reaction or emotions or whatever. And then, okay, but let's let that go too. So it's okay. It's okay. So yeah. So once you are allowing yourself to sit with these feelings and emotions, then you have to work your way through it, and that takes all sorts of stuff. And a mantra can be really good. I'm also not big on guided meditations because I would almost rather just sort of do it myself. But mantras are good because they're just so repetitive that they sort of kind of like the power of the drum, right? It's just so repetitive that you sort of just like zone out, and it just becomes like background to the whole thing. But talking to yourself in a way that's compassionate and forgiving and loving and really reparenting yourself again. In my case, is very important. Then allow yourself to work through those emotions. It's okay to feel this and whatnot. So then there's that to it as well in order to power through it.
Validation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shane, I have a quick question for you. I know you have a daughter, so I love seeing parents show up for their kids in emotional intelligence type of ways. Do you practice meditation with your daughter? Like, I can assume that the way you reparent yourself is how you like to show up with your daughter.
So I have tried. She's 15. She'll be 16 in a few months, and she's very busy with school and has a very active social life. So of course, I would love for her on the days that she's with me to sit and do my meditations with me. However, I get it. I was 15 and I fully get it. Right. So all I can do, and this is the great example of all our relationships. All I can do is just work on me. All I can do is communicate with her the best way that I can, and be there and supportive and loving and parenting and all that. All I can do is the best I can, and then hope that it's an example for that. Then maybe one day she comes to it, and I'm sure she knows that I'm here whenever she wants, whenever she needs me, even in something like this. So yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks.
you know, and that's really cool, Court, that you picked up on that, because I was also like really loving what you're saying about the reparenting, because that is where we all got broken. I hate to say that word, but that's where our emotional intelligence got broken, is in parent, like in an,
lack of tools.
Our parents did the best they could with what they knew, but how beautiful that we all get the opportunity to now be parents someday, or currently, you know, and allow our kids to have those emotions, because a lot of us were like, you know, shoved a pacifier or a piece of candy, or go to the, you know, get in your room, and like, these emotions are not okay. And that's like why we're having to reparent ourselves in our 30s and 40s, because we never had a parent that had the capacity to allow emotions to just be emotions, and to allow you to sit in the emotion and feel it. Like, that's crucial. It's crucial. Yeah. From, you know, birth until now, until current. So I think that's really cool that we expanded on that and what that really means. Cause I don't know very many people that escaped that like emotional squashing as a kid. It's just the way that we all grew up. And I think it's definitely shifting, which is super cool, because we're all taking that ownership over our emotions currently in this day and age.
Choices.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
And like, Shane, it's also interesting to just like going back into like, it's okay. Like, it truly is okay. We are human. We fall back. We go forward, and telling ourselves, like, getting rid of that harsh critic, or just seeing that harsh critic and sending it some love. Be like, I see you, and you just need some love right now. So let's just know that everything is okay. Again, we are resilient beings. We can get through things, and it's through the choices that we make, but it's loving ourselves, it's parenting ourselves. And, you know, no one is ever going to meet our needs fully, but guess what? You can meet your needs fully, because you know you, I know me, Bethany knows herself. So it's like coming in and being that our own validation. That's empowering. That's big stuff, to come in and just be like, I see you. I see you're trying. I see how much you care, and X, Y, and Z, and you're hurting right now. Well, guess what? I am here to love on you, because you deserve love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, and I have to say, part of that reparenting for me also included a firm, disciplined father figure, because I didn't have one. I didn't have a father growing up, and there was no father figure in my life. So part of my own personal journey was finding that part of the reparenting as well, because I had to be very firm and disciplined with myself. Neither one of those things I ever was before in my life, but I had to be that as well. And again, to hold myself accountable and to be very honest with myself. And so that's another aspect of this as well, because I can tell myself it's okay, but then also if I know I'm not in my integrity, and I know I'm not trying as hard as I can, and I know that I'm not really, you know, going after this thing, well, then that okay is going to ring hollow to me. Now, nobody else will know any of this, but inside it will still eat away, you know. So I'm not going to lie to myself either and be like, hey, everything's great. I'm sitting on the couch eating a bag of chips, pounding a 2-liter of Coke. You know what I'm saying? While my life and my relationships are crumbling around me. No, that's not looking okay. You know what I'm saying?
No,
but
that's the realness.
If you're in your integrity and you're grinding, then when you tell yourself okay, then you do allow yourself to have a little patience and compassion with yourself, because you're like, no, I really fucking am doing the best I can here. You know, I slipped a little bit on this, and like this happened and whatnot, but like I really am doing it. But if you're saying like it's okay, but you're not taking the actions necessary in your own life, well, then you're just delusional, you know. So that's an important aspect of this as well.
No, integrity is so important, and it is practicing what you preach. Like when I started my massage career back 7 years ago, and I remember telling clients, like, you need to do this, you got to stretch, you got to take care of the body. And I was like, boom, Courtney, make sure you are doing that. And I like to live a life of integrity. And it's just holding ourselves accountable. And it's like, hey, some days we have fucking hard ass fucking days, but guess what? Again, it's okay. But are you standing true? How does, like you said, how does it feel inside your body? Is it hollow? Like, does it feel good? Does it resonate? Are you holding yourself with the truth? Because if you're not, then you need to, there's more work to be done. There's more healing to be done. There's more, like, it's truly about showing up, and showing up is super important, because when you are trying to be there for others, if you're not showing up for self, you can't be there for others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like that you named that part of reparenting, as in, like, there is a mother figure energy type, and there's definitely the father, the masculine, the feminine, that helped raise all of us, or not, but in that reparenting, naming both those energies and their responsibility. Super cool. Thank you for expanding on that. That was a good mushroom of a conversation there, a little blossom. And I know that you're here now, currently, with this integrity, with this meditation practice. Clearly, we've touched on, like, one little aspect of your childhood upbringing that may have been lacking and then led you astray. But I'm just kind of want to rewind and maybe get into a little bit of your journey. Like, how did you get to be this, like, refined and refining human that you are today, from where you were possibly, like, as a kid growing up? Just take us on the journey, and we can kind of expand from there too.
Well, I don't think I'm refined at all, so thank you for the compliment.
You're welcome.
But I got ground down, I got ground down, refined, right? I mean,
Love that.
it's this whole diamond thing, it's in there. It's in there. It's just surrounded by just, like, years of fucking hard stuff on rocks. And, it takes some brutality to chop away at that, and it takes some power and might, and it's a dirty process, So I don't know to what degree I chose this, like, nobody put a needle in my arm, you know what I'm saying? I did that physically, but it feels oftentimes like I don't know to what degree I chose this, but here I am.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was just like, it's just a shitty process, it's just, I think about it all the time. Like, there's no pretty way to do this. Life is not pretty. It's just death. It's just constant death. These are all the gods. These are all the things. It's just death. Things are just passing away. Father time, constantly destroying, constantly destroying, but also constantly creating. And so once you realize that and sort of look at your own life in the bigger picture, to me, that's how I got so refined. Just the constant destruction. But the destruction will happen, and a lot of times it's self-destruction. But the destruction in our lives is going to occur. The things are going to fall away constantly, constantly, constantly. It's our job as individuals to constantly be rebuilding. So this is how we get rolling. Otherwise, things are just getting destroyed, and you're just losing everything. Or sometimes people are trying to, like, catch up, like, forget. It's just a roll. Like, let it go. You just keep moving. We only have so much we can do in this life, so we just keep rolling on this thing. So I got refined through the practices that we talked about, and then but that was only after other events and things that had transpired that were sort of in my control. I don't know. It's really hard for me to even figure out myself. But at a certain point, I just know it had to be, and so this is where I am. But I do know the tools and practices and these medicines that helped me get here. And so that's what I focus on, because that's what we can do. That's what we can do. The destruction is, or will occur. So now we just rebuild, and these practices will help us rebuild, starting with the meditation. And then it's about our physical body as well. So the diet and the exercise. You know what I'm saying? The getting plenty of getting out into nature. And then it's about our emotional and spiritual fulfillment. So it's about doing the things in our life that we enjoy, whether it's rock climbing or bows and arrows, or, basketball, painting, fill in the blank. And so, again, it comes back to personal responsibility and everybody's priorities. So these secrets have all been told. We know what works now for millennia. People, the information is worldwide, literally, so much. The problem is there's so much information now that people are just drowning it. They're just drowning information, but they're not able to swim, like, in the wisdom,
Right.
And so they want to go. People want to go deep down rabbit holes on YouTube, books, or whatnot. but then like they're not implementing any of that stuff in their life. So they're thinking about such higher concepts, fifth dimensions and whatnot. But then like their body and this world we live in, they sort of want to deny the society we live in. I don't like the society, so I'm going to like withdraw from it and I'm going to reject it. And it's like, okay, dude, you live in a first world country. Wake up. Stop being a little bitch about it. Yes, this is the matrix. We know how this works. Yes, big pharma. Yes, big oil. I fucking hate them all. Yes, the government is fucked up. I get it. 5G's on the way. Can you stop it? I don't think you can individually. You know what I'm saying? Chemtrails, but Earth is flat. Fuck me, dude. Do your fucking meditation. Go to the goddamn gym. Eat some food. Get some sun. Have the hard conversation with your wife that you need to have. Tell your boss that he's doing a good job, even though you fucking hate him or you bust your boss. You know what I'm saying? Hold the door open at the gas station for the fucking homeless person just because. Smile at the guy in the line at Walmart, the dude with the bald head and the tattoos and the leather because he looks scary as fuck. Smile at him and say, "How are you today?" That's what this is all about. And people want to do these highly spiritual things.
Mm-hmm.
And then they reject their own existence and trying to do something.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, I love it. We were both here for it. Yeah.
Amen.
But it's the rawness, it's the realness, it's the accountability, it's keeping it fucking simple. It's being in your body and just seeing things for what they are. Because yes, there are lots of things that we can't change, but guess what? There are things that you can control. There are things that you can do. It's living with integrity. It's living with a heart. Like, be kind to people, show up for people, show up for your fucking self. If you're not showing up for yourself, how can you fucking live in this world?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've answered one of Bethany's questions yet.
I know. It's all good. It's all good. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. That was like,
we're bringing it back. My apologies.
I love it. It's so important because I do think that we are getting really fantasized with like the 5D. And, I have actually encountered, well, it's interesting because I feel like people that view organized religion and have a tainted taste in their mouth of organized religion, like whoever this speaks to out there that may be listening to this. But if you are one of those people that looks at it, a lot of the time, the reason behind that is because we look at these people that go to church, they praise the Lord, they do all these, righteous religious things, but then they go and they don't hold the door for the homeless dude. They don't smile at the tattoo guy. They judge this person, that person, that person. And you're like, okay, so you're doing all these things out here, and you're like, you're this holier than thou, going to church thing, but you're not a good human at your heart. Like, so there's that disconnect. And so it's actually funny, and it's interesting because when you spoke when you just spoke, it made me think of like, okay, this is kind of translating into the spiritual community now, where we have these 5D jumpers that are like, 5D in it, we're going to get there, we're doing it. But like at the end of the day, they're fucking raging just as much as everybody else. Like when, the 5D chit chat is off, and it's like, they're not being at the end of the day, just a basic kind human that cares about the 3D things that need to happen to exist in the 3D realm that we live in. That's never going away. Even when you go to 5D, the 3D has to exist, because if it didn't exist, you'd be dead. Like, you wouldn't be here. So it's just like, it's really great that you named it, that you reached just now hard about it. Like, that was great, because I really think that was a huge dot connection for me of like how this is literally like the same thing in the spiritual community as it is in organized religion. One thing I did want to say, go.
No, please.
One thing I did want to say, I was really curious, and this is going to like jog back just a second, but you kind of said that you don't know how you got here, but there were things along the way that got you here, right? I was really curious in listening to some of other podcasts that you were in. I got to hear a little bit more about your story, and I'm just really curious. Like, so you have a history of addiction. You were very involved, and you're very like heavy and deep into it. and you were surrounded by a lot of other people that were really heavy and deep into addiction. What about you though did like not stay stuck? There, like, have you ever like marinated on like what in me did have the flip that was able to switch and switch flip? Yeah.
That's why I trust God.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's why I trust God. Yeah, I can't call it. You know, I have no explanation. I mean, I should be dead. I mean, no, I mean, somebody getting out of 20 plus, almost 25 years of heroin addiction is extremely rare, and I know that. So maybe it's easy for me to wake up and be grateful. You know, when things are shitty, maybe it's easy for me to wake up and be grateful. You know, when things aren't going my way, because I shouldn't even be here. Maybe that's why I have a sense of passion and a sense of urgency about what I'm doing here and the mission that I feel God has called me to do, because I'm alive and I'm going to take advantage of every minute that I have. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And that, and some things are not for me to know, but now it's like, okay, here you are. Now what? You know, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I still trust it.
I was gonna say, and that's okay, because it's the trust. It's because we at times you fear the unknown and all this shit, but it's like when you do lean into that trust, it's it kind of takes some pressure off that we have to control everything. So
because looking back, you know, it sounds really cliche, but looking back, it you know, there were moments, you know, it seems to have been orchestrated beautifully, right? And so, of course, in the moment, you don't realize that, you know, but looking back over the course of the thing, you go, oh, okay, that's why this really horrible thing had to happen. That's why I had to go through years of this. That's why I had to do all this math. And then so now in the present time, I can look back and then say, wait, everything else happened just the way it was supposed to. And maybe I didn't like some of it, but, you know, it did. And so now I'm just going to apply that same thing moving forward. Like, I don't know why this is happening, but you know what? I don't have to know, you know. I'm just going to just keep going through this thing. And I just wanted to go back and touch on what Bethany was saying about, like, so many people are against organized religion because they see the hypocrisy in it and all this, and of course there's lots of dogma, but how that is now translating over into the spiritual community. I think it's always been there, but these spiritual communities are just as bad, if not worse, than any other organized religion or community, because there's even more drama, you know, there's more ego, there's more, you know, financial desires as any other group. And the reason, I think, is because people come to these spiritual circles because they are desperate. Now, these are the most injured, the most traumatized, the most sick, the most broken people that are seeking healing. So you have some very hurt people coming into the community. On the other side, you do have some very good people, but you also have some people who come to the circle for that very same reason. They're broken, traumatized, hurt, and all that stuff. But they think there's some great spiritual being, so they're going to come in and heal everybody else. Meanwhile, you know, they're coming in with their own traumas, their own sickness, their own egos, and then they're meeting a bunch of people who are hurt and broken and trying to find somebody. And so there's this weird codependent thing between the charlatans and the people seeking healing that transpires in these communities. And of course, there are good people in there. Lots and lots and lots of good people, just like there are in a Christian church or in a Buddhist monastery or in an Muslim mosque, right? So it's the same thing, but such a large number of people who are ostracized from society, normal traditions because they have alternative ways of thinking, or some of them are just fucking crazy. You know, come to these spiritual communities out of desperation. So I think there's even more of all the things people, you know, judge organized religion. I think there's even more of that in the spiritual community sometimes. And this, I'm not ragging on the spiritual community because this is all divine and perfect in the way it is right now. But it is fair warning to people who are coming into these communities hoping to find something greater. Just like you would in any other communities, you have to guard yourself. You have to guard your time and energy and your finances and resources. You know, everybody that you meet in here is not going to be a lifelong friend. They are not, you know, they are not necessarily your tribe. They are not necessarily your family or your brother or sister. There are 9 billion people on the planet. And if you get into these communities and people are not reciprocating value, honor, love, respect, time, then you don't need them, just like in any other community. what I think the biggest problem in the spiritual community is people say all the words. They say all the flowery words that would make one believe that this is a safe space here. They'll even explicitly tell you this is a safe space here. But then, if you do say something they don't like, you're ostracized, or if you start to find your own power and they have not yet, then or somebody they know, and they're going to talk shit about it. It's just as bad. It's about your time, your energy, your resources, and any community, and the spiritual community is not any different.
Yeah, and I think too, like paying attention to what the body is saying to you, like getting into the body, like do you feel your nervous system is dysregulated around this person? Is your heart palpitating? Are you feeling like trusting yourself, trusting that you have that power within to know the difference? Because yes, like not everyone has good intentions, and you can feel it. It's palpable. If you tap into that energy and just like listen to what people are saying, you can hear through the tone of what someone is saying if they're being sincere and genuine.
Yeah. And discernment with everything, that's a huge thing right now that we have to practice. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Shane?
I'm good.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Alrighty.
I have a little segue. So, just because in this community, the spiritual community, you are now a facilitator. You now host men retreats. You are doing co-ed retreats. How do you, and with your integrity, that's how I'm assuming you show up, but it's like, what is it like, being that facilitator, being the one creating that space for people to show up authentically and raw and holding accountability? Would you want to share a little bit about those retreats?
Yeah. How do I show up? I try to show up empty. I try to show up empty and calm and grounded and centered and protected and faithful. That's how I try to show up. Because I know full well that I'm not a healer. I'm not a healer. People. I'm just a conduit. I'm just a little tool. And I know that, and so I don't fool myself for 1 second. Now, I do know that powerful work is done. I do know that. I've witnessed it, and it buoys me. Seeing that work and people's progress buoys me. But I show up by letting God and Spirit and trusting everybody's individual process. Because everybody's got to do their own thing, and some people people are all over the place with that stuff. Each individual is just doing their own thing, and you just have to allow that and trust that. And I've learned to not to try to work too hard to help somebody that doesn't want it.
Right.
And it serves the mission at hand, because if I'm sort of giving time to this person, they're just not doing anything about themselves. Well, then, I love you and good luck, but okay, I have to go. I have to redirect. So
going back to the codependency, you're just trying to be holding them accountable for their own journey, but you are also here to hold space, but making sure that it's not fucking intertwined and enmeshed.
Yeah, I cannot be. I'd be ripped in pieces if I had to do that. It's just boundaries.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Boundaries. Some people latch on. And go ahead.
We were just talking before you came. We're what's going to be our next episode? We're going to do boundaries.
So important. Yeah. So I keep energetic boundaries, and it can be a lot. There can be a lot of incoming, things happening, and and by the way, I don't answer one text. I don't reply to one thing until I do my meditation, because I've learned in the past, I would wake up and sort of just be waking up and anxious and shit like that. And I would reply, and it wouldn't be good, it wouldn't be my God, that's the stupidest question ever. Are you fucking kidding me right now? But the subtext would be under there, So,
Yeah.
I no longer reply to anything. I wait till I get myself grounded, and that's been a good lesson in how I show up at ceremonies as well, because I know now to make sure that I'm grounded, centered, protected.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, make sure that I'm nice and chill before I apply to it. But, yeah, everybody's on their own journey, and I have to trust that. I cannot get energetically or emotionally involved. Um, I have to some degree. I have to some degree. You know, I have to get to some degree, but I don't have to stay there. I can go in with them for a bit, help them for a little bit, and then I'm getting the fuck out of there. You know?
Yeah.
And I'll still be here, and we can get back into it a little bit if we need to. But then I'm out of here again. I have to do the thing, you know. So that's how I try to.
So I want to just like highlight real quick. So we kind of like jumped into your retreats. I want to just like highlight, you know, you are holding your own retreats, and it's Mount Shiva retreat. Is it Mount Shiva retreats? Is that your own brand? There's the shirt for everybody watching with the logo. Is that your brand that you birthed? It's your own creation? Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. And again, I sort of don't know how I got here either, but it is, yeah. And brand is a tough one. Anything. I have such a hard word with some brand. I mean, that's a perfectly fine word. It makes all the sense, and of course, everybody gets it, right? Yes, that's sort of the image that I came up with, and I sort of wanted people to associate, you know, what I do with, and it's sort of like a little beacon, you know, somebody's looking, you know, here's the thing, you know. And so, yeah.
Let's talk about the energy behind it then. Instead of saying brand, let's take a little deeper. Like, what is the energy behind the words and the label and the whatever, the physical looking at it? What is the energy?
It's a great question. Yeah. So I don't know if this has to do with my own upbringing of scarcity, but you know, we grew up pretty poor, you know, and I've not really ever had a lot of money. And so one of my own personal journeys has been, you know, accepting abundance. You know, I know now, previously in my life, inside somewhere, I didn't believe I deserved it, clearly, you know, but I've shifted all that. Now I know I do, but just knowing that, sort of moving into that space a bit, doesn't make it all change overnight. So now I've been moving into that space for some years. But for some reason, when it comes to sort of like commercializing or sort of like selling this stuff, it just kind of gets me, you know. And again, I don't know, the lack and scarcity thing. I feel like it's because I don't want people to get taken advantage of, and like sort of what we were talking about before. There's lots of charlatans, people asking lots of money for services they're usually not good at. If they do them at all, it's just complete hogwash. So brand and like, you know, yeah, advertising, right? You know, like this sort of stuff kind of irks me a bit. And so I work through that daily. But brand is a perfectly fine word. and so yes, I get it. But that's sort of like when somebody calls themselves a healer. That kind of irks me too, because I'm like, we're all healers, dude. Like every single one of us is healers. So if you're putting that up there, or like shaman, I feel like it's like a billboard. I feel like it's like, you know, I'm selling this thing. I'm a shaman. I'm a healer. Come to me, and I will heal you. Rather than come to me, I'll help you, give you some tools, guide you to heal yourself. Right. So there's just all these very weird little nuances that are probably just personal issues, you know, but I feel like it keeps me in my own integrity, and that's all that matters really at the end of the day. So, but yeah, so Mount Shiva is something that evolved over time. It started as a men's group, which we still have it. We do Zooms every single Monday, men's Zoom meetings. And so it started there, and I called it Mount Shiva because, well, Shiva's a Hindu god, obviously, that resonates deeply with me. There's lots of symbolism around him, lots of beautiful stories.
You're doing a retreat as well in India. You're correct?
Correct. Yeah. But Shiva, there's a lot of symbolism to Shiva that resonated with me, and so we called the men's group Mount Shiva, and we started that with COVID. And then one day I was like, should we get together physically? Because the guys are all over the country, so we got together physically, and we did like a thing, and we had a great time. And so it just started as like a men's group getting together every couple months. And then as I began to serve the medicine a couple of years after that, other people started to reach out. Ladies started to reach out. The women started to reach out and be like, hey, like, I'm looking for this thing. And I was like, okay. And I've been very sort of cautious with moving forward with this because I've seen what this medicine can do to other people who think they want to serve medicine, and other people who think they want to open churches and all this. I've seen what it's done to them. So I'm very cautious. But things sort of evolved naturally. I opened it up to co-ed, and then for the last couple of years, just been a beautiful journey. In fact, some of the retreats I've done were just women, and those are, I mean, that's a powerful healing process for me to be able to go and just serve the women. So, and I call it Mount Shiva because anywhere we're gathered is Mount Shiva, sort of like we're more one are gathered in my name type of thing.
With your women's retreats, and the podcast I watched of yours, you had talked about, trying to step into a feminine energy, because that's what there's a balance between our masculinity and our femininity. How has it been to soften and to see yourself in this feminine energy in your women's retreats, in your co-ed retreats?
Yeah, at those women's retreats, I wouldn't quite say that I step into my feminine energy. Actually, sort of the opposite. I try to maintain a positive masculine energy because so many women are coming to heal that thing, right? Yeah. But I I'm a Sagittarius. I have lots of fire, and so I realized that, and I realized in my younger me would have been like, fuck it, I'm going to burn it all to the ground. Right, but I have a larger mission now, so it doesn't always serve me to burn everything to the ground. And so I had to do this battle with myself over time too, like trying to figure out how much I let the flame just rip and how much I have to sort of like, okay, let me contain this thing a bit, And so, so the women's ceremonies are really beautiful because I can soften a bit, I can soften a bit, but still hold like a masculine. If I'm doing my job correctly, but still hold like a nice masculine space. And so many people are coming because of their issues with the masculine or their past experience.
Right. The balance, and it's like it's a divine. You're showing up how a healthy divine masculine energy should be,
which is that. Well, that is beautiful. that is such needed work on this planet for sure. So that is beautiful. That's such a good answer. Like you're not flipping into the feminine, you're just being even more of the divine masculine.
And this is a great point too, because so many men so masculinity has gotten a bad rap for decades. And so many men meaning very well, want to support women, but they make the mistake in supporting women, and that they want to slide so far into their feminine, like, oh no, I'm going to do this. The ladies aren't, so this is what I need to be for them. But that's, although well intentioned, that's incorrect. The women need just the opposite. They need like the firm, not firm. They need the masculine. They need a calm, grounded, centered, protected masculine. And that can be firm sometimes. And of course, there's this ever flowing, energetic dance that we do as men and women, and I mean, that's just part of life. But I was the same way, and that's why we have so many effeminate men. We're sort of meaning well, and we sort of give all this space, but then it's not, at what point do you take it back? Now it seems like a struggle to take it back, to just get back to balance. But I'm not fighting with you, I'm just trying to fill the space. And women, for very obvious reasons, have had to step into their masculine, I mean, they were thrown into the workforce a few decades ago, they got their sexual freedom, all this stuff. But then the pendulum swung a bit too far because there were two groups of guys that either fought a tooth and nail, and that doesn't do anybody any good, and then the guys that stepped too far away to say, okay, take it all, you can have it all, but there's some balance here. So that's my 2 cents on that aspect of it anyway.
No, I love that. That was a really good 2 cents, because it just needs to be named. It does. It needs to be named and said and spoke, because it's so true. And I am like a personal experiencer of that offset balance of the masculine, feminine, and just trying to be more of that divine feminine in myself. Because I definitely feel that pendulum has swung in like our our models, our mothers, like my mother at least, was definitely like a very exemplified version of the pendulum being way too swung. So now I'm trying to like unprogram the things that I've seen and grown up around, so I think that was really awesome to just say out loud. Yeah, that how important that is. So I just want to also ask, so you're serving, so in the retreats, you're serving ayahuasca specifically. Okay. You're brewing yourself, or brewing yourself. Sweet.
I do. Yeah, that's correct.
Wow. Super sweet. How did that transition happen for you? Because I mean, we both partaken in the ceremony. Like, I am familiar with the inner workings of a ceremony and how that goes. And so I'm just curious, like, how did that transition come about? Because I think that's a lot to take on. Personally, just knowing what I know about the ceremony, I'm like, wow, that's a big undertaking.
Yeah. Again, yeah. Again, thing just unfolded for me. Like I was told in my third weekend ever. I think it was the one after we met. I think it was like January 2020 or something. I was told in the ceremony after very intense process, the most probably to date, to give it back, and I didn't know what that meant. Right?
Mm.
Okay. So also, I see so many people sip the medicine one or two times. They come out, and then all of a sudden they want to start to work with the medicine in some fashion or form. So I've seen this as well, and I had been to many retreats where facilitators weren't good or they didn't know what they were doing. I'm like, so I was watching, as I was going to all these ceremonies. And I started doing these men's retreats. We were doing bufo and psilocybin. I was not doing ayahuasca. I dared not touch ayahuasca besides my own, personal journeys when I was going. Um, so I was in no hurry and never thought I would serve this medicine. So it wasn't even on my radar really as far as serving goes, but I was doing my own work with it very often at great financial investment to myself as I was just finding my recovery. And then these men's retreats started to happen, and we had done a few of them. And the guys were like, we were doing bufo and psilocybin. The guys were like, we want to do ayahuasca at the next one. And I was like, we got time. No need to rush this. Let's just let it, we'll stick at what we've been doing the last couple of years. It's working great. And they were like, no, we're kind of like ready. And I was like, oh, dang. Okay. Okay. So without the support of these men, I wouldn't be here. First of all, without them urging, prodding me, and asking me, and trusting me, and seeing me, and having faith in me, and knowing me, truly fucking knowing me, and all my flaws, all my humanity, these guys know me, and yet they still ask me to serve them. And that was a big, that took me some time to get over, to even consider. There's a lot of dirt throwing and gatekeeping in these ayahuasca circles and from the other medicine servers and churches. But these guys asked me, it was our group, it was our type group, I'm going to do it. So I did. Of course, I needed medicine for it. I did not have any. So, online, there's people that reach out and they're like, hey, I'm wherever and I can get you some medicine. And I had like dozens of them and I had never answered any of them. But I was like, I need some medicine now. Let me scroll through it, find a guy, talk to him in South America. All right, dude, he showed me, do a video chat, he shows me the medicine. All right. I go to Western Union, I'm $350, he ghosts me. Okay, so now I've got these guys counting on me. I just sent $350 to Peru that is now gone forever. I wasn't even mad. I was literally just like, okay, I see what's happening here, So I had to start doing my own. There was no choice because I needed it for the retreat. so, so that's what I did. Now, before the guys asked me to serve, I had been doing the med retreat for some time. And at one point, other churches around the country reached out to me and asked me to come and help facilitate them. Other medicine servers would ask, I need a good facilitator. Can you come out? Blah, blah, blah. They would take me out there. I'd go for the weekend and help facilitate. So I got the chance to facilitate for over a dozen medicine servers. So I got a chance to really see all the different traditions, all the ways it's done. I got to see all the genuine healing. I also got to see all the acting, you know. And so I had facilitated at many churches for many different medicine servers before I ever served these gentlemen, by the way, just to be super clear on that. So, but I found myself in this space, and then so I had to bring my own medicine, and I did it, and it went well. And and I had already surrendered at that point. Before I served the gentleman their first cup, I had already gone through a very deep process, a very deep process of looking at myself and what I was doing and why I was doing it, and what this all meant, you know. So by the time I served those gentlemen, it was too late, it was just too late, and so, and then, like I said, other people started to reach out, and so I would just do little things here and there. And I wasn't like trying to turn this into a business. I wasn't like setting up a retreat every single month, whatever. Because people would be like, "When's the next one?" I was like, "I don't have a next one. When do you want to do one?" Okay, cool. Let's see if we can make that happen. And if anybody else wants to come, like, then they can come. That's literally what I was doing. So I would open them up as they were like asked for, and then like whoever came, came. If it was 9, cool. If it was 15, cool. Like I don't care, Come, I don't care, So, that's sort of how I ended up here, and then it's just slowly been evolving over time. And while it's been, slightly nerve wracking on occasion, and quite, it's energetic work and physical work. It's all the things. It's not easy, but I knew that. That's why I went through such a deep process to begin with, because I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew about all the crazy. I knew about all the egos. I knew about the shit talkers. I knew what was coming with this, but I also knew about all the healing that it would bring. And I also see all the addictions been fucking blown away, and the lives changed. So like I knew before I served that first cup of the gentleman that this was coming. So now when it comes, I say, I knew this was coming and it's okay. I trust this thing. So every single morning I give it up to God.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Do you have any questions for?
I did, and then they got go. You go.
Okay, so when you are serving the retreat, are you drinking as well as part of the facilitation? Yeah, wow, that's the part to me that I'm always just like, I've recently stumbled upon a dude called Hamilton Souther, who's pretty big in the ayahuasca community, but he's a dude from the States that went down to the jungle like many decades ago and just like sat with the medicine. But he opened my eyes to what is happening on that side of the picture, like what's going on with the actual medicine server, like what they're really in, like, and I guess like with this being said, for those that don't know ayahuasca, like it is a fascinating psychedelic. Like I hate to even put it in that category, but it is. But it also is like such a spirit plant process. Like you can't even. There's no other. I don't know, and I haven't done a lot of other things. I guess I'm not a huge plethora. Like I've not done ibogaine or any of bufo or any of those things. But like what I can compare it to, it was so inexplainable what actually is taking place. Like it's just really wild. So
that's why I feel like people have to be called to it, because you can't really explain it to anybody, right? It's ineffable. They're just experiences and transformations that you just can't put into words. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you can't. No, but I guess I was curious if you were facilitating in that way, where you were serving the medicine, participating in the medicine as well as holding the space for everybody in that. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on was the size. I've heard you talk about the amount of people that you kind of keep it to, which if you can expand on that, and I think that it's huge. I think that's a huge component of, an impactful, safe ceremony. Probably safe too.
Yeah. So first of all, almost every time after I brew a batch, and I usually just brew for each ceremony, so that I can put the intentions that the people specifically coming to that ceremony need into the medicine specifically. And then I usually sit with that medicine alone after I brew it. Those are quite humbling experiences, but it keeps me very connected with the medicine. And she also reminds me that I'm her bitch every time I drink her alone. I surrender over and over. Yes, ma'am. I say yes, ma'am. But in ceremony, obviously, I'm not taking a full dose with everybody right away. I take about a half a serving, which is only about an ounce of medicine. So I take like half that. But it allows me to be connected in the space and to be very present and to be opened up, because in ceremony, again, I'm just the conduit there. So I'm sort of not making the decisions. You know what I mean? I'm letting them work in that space. So that's why I drink a bit of the sacrament in ceremony myself. And then the other part was, I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question about?
The size
The size
of
of the
the
group. Mhm.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So, first of all, um, I have facilitated, and not my own service, but at other churches with other ministers, these very large ceremonies, from 30 to 60 people. And then there's a place down here in Florida, and at one point we're doing like 80 or 100 people.
Wow.
I think this is malpractice. I think it gives the medicine a bad name. And I have to be honest with you, the most like outrageous, crazy sort of processes that I've ever seen people have, like acting out and really being just like, just things really popping off in a crazy way, always happen at these large ceremonies. It's always when there's tons of people. It's all this energy. And listen, people are coming to be heard and to seen and to be healed. It is the medicine, but also so much of this is counseling and therapy over the course of the weekend. And so people are coming to be seen and heard. And so when you're in 30, 50 people in there, sometimes there's things in people, and yelling is going to happen, and flailing around is going to happen. And sometimes it can be controlled. Sometimes it cannot be, but I only see it at these really large ceremonies. Maybe that's just a coincidence, but also, you know, some people are good on their own, but again, many people are coming to be helped along a bit, And so if there's 50 people at a ceremony, you have no idea of knowing what these people came for. Why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here? You just can't, the work can't be done. It's just impossible. So people are going to slip through the cracks. So they're going to have this profound experience, and then they're going to be thrown back into the world, with no guidance. Yeah. A church or whatever will be like, hey, we have a Zoom, we have integration on Wednesday on Zoom. And then you get on and there's 30 people there. And it's a 4-hour meeting where people are talking in circles. Nobody's really guiding the thing. It's somebody's story about how they saw a dragon in their dream one night. You go on for 30 minutes about that shit, It's just not an effective way of helping people heal themselves, in my opinion. So I have chosen to keep my ceremonies small for those very reasons. I know basically what every single person is coming for. And we have our integration both during the weekend. It doesn't take 3 hours, and we can dig. I try to dig straight into what we're really getting at, the heart of the matter, to help people make change in their life, right? So I try to be very pointed with the integration session rather than letting them meander. Of course, there's going to be some degree of that because everybody just got their mind full, and then also the post integration work. I offer 2 one-on-one integration calls with everybody afterwards, and I can manage 15 or 20 people. But if it were like 60 people, how am I supposed to touch base with every single one of those people? And of course, I know why these people are doing it. They'll say it's because they want to heal more people. Meanwhile, they're just, giving people this powerful medicine and chucking them back out into the world. It's about money, because after you get so many people, then your overhead is met, and then all the rest is profit, right? And so I keep my ceremony small because, again, I believe I deserve abundance, and I know I do. I don't necessarily think it has to come on the back of people's healing. And so I'm doing other things as well to try to manifest that financial abundance in my life. So I keep them small for those reasons.
I love that. I love the one-on-one calls, the integration in it afterwards, like that. It's big, because I guess we know when people are just thrown to the wind afterwards, they can stay stuck, and then they can't shift and grow and evolve, and they just have, this image of this dragon. What does this mean? What does this mean? And no concept of where. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, and this is so important to me, because when I came back from my first several weekends, that's what I went through. I would go back to work on Monday and just be bawling. I wouldn't even be sad. I would just be bawling at work for no reason. And nobody was there to tell me no, it's okay, this and that, whatever. It was none of that. So I stumbled through it on my own. But here I am, but I learned from all that. So it's very important to me now.
Yeah, I can say personally, speaking from, my own experience in the ceremony that we were both in, is I felt very, very confused for a very long time and just pondered for years what that ceremony meant. And it felt so lacking in the integration part. And, it's one thing I could say to people that are listening, like, it's kind of like when you go to get a tattoo and you maybe like, and you know, when I'm 18, I just went to the tattoo parlor that everybody told me to go to. And they were like, yeah, this guy's good. Like, go get it done by Seneca. He's good, you know, and you go and you get your tattoo and you're like, okay, so now I have a cartoon image of a fish on my foot, and I really wanted the realistic fish on my foot, but I went to the artist that only did cartoon work, you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And now that I'm older and you know that, oh, there's various artists that specialize in certain types of tattoos and artwork, you know, you're like, okay, now I'm going to cherry pick who I go to. And for those reasons, it's the same kind of analogy to this. It's like, really, now that I know what I know and how important the integration is, like, I would, like, I in a heartbeat I've kind of been turned away from doing that experience again, but like listening to you speak about these experiences, I'm like, wow, like if I really wanted to like look at some shit and like be held and be able to totally have the whole picture process where you're exposing whatever's meant to come up, and maybe you go in with a goal, maybe you don't, but you at least have somebody there that's going to allow that space for you to process whatever the hell is going to be served to you in that ceremony, you know? And it's huge because like we've said, it's otherworldly what happens in these ceremonies. Like it's massive. And so, yeah, I really think it's super important for people listening, like, do your homework. Don't just sign up for any ceremony. Like, you know, what I went through and how I chose it, we chose it. But if I had to go back, like, I would love to do something that you're like, what you're offering, just like intimate. I mean, I think it's amazing that you know what each individual person, even in that sense, before they enter the space, is even kind of going to come in to work on. And like the medicine is taking on that energetic imprint because, like we're saying, like this medicine is so energetic. It's in all the dimensions. It's in all the places that we can't even wrap our heads around. So I love that you even infuse it with that. Like, that is so beautiful, and so potent. So anyways, thanks. That's great. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for changing that in the realm of this plant medicine, you know, situation. Thank you for changing that and shifting that. Yeah, holding that integrity.
It feels right. And it is a lot more work. I mean, I get it. I would understand why somebody wouldn't want to do, 40 one-on-one integration calls. So they don't, I get it. I mean, I get it, but I just do it this way because it feels right.
It feels sacred.
Yeah. All right. Wow. I love it. So I feel like we talked on everything. And then the one thing that, like, a lot of things that we wanted to say, one thing though, that we should like just really highlight, because it is a huge part, is like, is there anything else you want to say about integrative work? Like, I know we've talked on meditation and we've talked on daily practices and mindset and integration in ceremony, integration after, but is there anything else that you want to expand upon in the integration realm that you feel is an important message?
There is a time for each individual in their healing journey to step away, to go into the dark, to look deeply, but while you're there, be doing your work. Because inevitably, unless you're going to be a hermit or up on a mountain somewhere forever, inevitably you have to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And people retreat. They don't want to partake in society, or they just want to poo-poo it or say how bad it is. Listen, this is what God intended. If it weren't, it wouldn't be happening this way. And so many people in these spiritual communities want to just like retract. And I say, get back out into the world. You can't practice any of this stuff if you don't have these idiots out here to trigger you. You can't practice mindfulness if you don't have the noise to distract you. So while you are tucked away, do all those things, the meditation, the plant medicines if you feel called, the integration work, getting into nature, that change your diet, change your exercise. You will feel better. Looking better is just a byproduct. You will feel better. You'll be clearer. You'll be stronger. You'll be honoring the gift that God has given you, which is this body. So when you retract, do your work. Don't retract and then not do your work. Because by retract, do your work, and then get back out. Because everybody has their own special gifts that the world desperately needs right now, but you cannot give them unless you're fully ready and able to give them. So I urge everybody to do the best they can, to be patient with themselves, to love others, and let's go.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And allow yourself grace along the way. I think that's like, just allow yourself that grace when you get out back into the world.
Okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
Treat yourself like a friend. You know, we're always going to be kind to our friends. So treat yourself like a dear fucking friend.
Yeah. So, okay, I guess we'll wrap it up with this one last little question. So you got a microphone. Oh, one thing I did want to touch on was your cosmic bars and cars. I just really wanted to do that. I was like, oh wait, we got a microphone.
I turned this whole conversation into such a serious one. We didn't touch on cosmic bars and cars. Okay, I'm ready.
I'm just curious about that part of your life, like that part of you, who you are, that facet of your diamond. Like, like you obviously are like this freestyler. Like, what is that part of you? You like freestyle and maybe create music. I don't know. Just tell us about it.
Yeah, so I've been a musician my whole life, and I've been recording music to some degree for 30 years, right? But I stepped away from it for some time because I was a drug addict, even though I was in lots of bands during that time. But yeah, it's my artistic expression. I love hip hop, and I love rap and that culture, and I was raised in it, and spent plenty of time where it was always being played, and so it's close to my heart. It's powerful. It's powerful music with possibly powerful message, and so I love doing it. So that's my creative outlet. I put the songs up on Spotify and all the things or whatever, but that's just for fun. It's just for me. But really, it's just a way for me. I can do some shadow work in there. I can get hip hop.
Yes.
Shit.
Yeah.
I can get there a lot of shit, but still keep it real. And so it's just a great expression for me. It's fun. It allows me to get these things out in a healthy way. So I love doing it. It's not completely freestyle. Usually I put something on and write it down real quick before I hop in the car. But some of them I turn into songs, some I don't. They're just one off. But it's a blast.
Cool.
And by the way, the Midnight Prophet moniker is something that was given to me by a name generator like 20 years ago or 25 years ago or something. So I didn't pick that. It was picked for me years ago, but it seems to work better now than ever. So I like the cosmic bars and cars. So I'm going to keep doing it. And that's also something like I don't have to stress over it. When I feel like inspired to put on a beat and write something to it, I do, but I don't have to. Or if I'm writing the book, when I take a break, I can just throw on an instrumental and write something, So I love it. I love it. Big part of my life.
It allows you to be playful, bringing a playfulness in is also like to not take things so seriously and to let that, we all have creative expression. So that's a really fun, playful way to let it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too.
It is. It's really cool.
Fuck yeah. I can't wait to go listen to it because I fucking love that. I'm music in my ears all the time. I'm stoked.
Yeah, everybody go follow Shane Ali, ShaneAli on Facebook, and you'll get some of the cosmic bars. It's impressive. I'm like, this is so cool. He's just freestyling and really spitting it flawlessly, which I just think it's so cool. So one other thing I wanted to just make sure we did a little shameless plug is for your book. You're writing a book. Yeah.
Dude, I need an adult in the room now. Man. This thing is whipping my ass, dude. It's just brutal, to just look, when you're in sixth grade or something, you're taught okay, here's how the essay is going to be written. You need an intro paragraph, then you need three body paragraphs, and then but in each paragraph you have an intro sentence, and then you have man, look, I'm in here trying to organize the shit because it's just basically 90,000 words of stream of consciousness. So I'm trying to make it palatable for other people to be able to, read it coherently. So I'm just struggling with that right now. if I'm lucky, I'll manifest enough money to pay for a goddamn editor to help me with this because but I've given myself the end of this year to finish writing it, and so I'm going to try to stick to that best I can because it's been long enough.
Right
Hope
on.
after dope. Yeah,
Hope after dope. And when it goes down, we'll make sure we put it out on the megaphone to the universe.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, going back to our final little question. Sorry, I had to get up there. My dog, my little puppy dog, literally just a year old. He's biting my hands like you can't even believe. He's getting a little riled up. This is his time to go run in the backyard. And so, okay, last little question here to wrap up. You do have a microphone. It's broadcasting to the whole entire planet, the whole entire universe. What do you got to say?
Yeah. Just breathe.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, just breathe.
Cool. Love that.
Love it. Love it. Well, thanks so much for this conversation. I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I think we've got a lot of wisdom here, a lot of cool nuggets for everybody to just pick up and put in their little tool bag and their minds.
I hope people follow along on my ramblings.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I can't wait to go back and just like re-listen. I'm just gonna like this has been really fun.
Yeah, me too. I know. I'm excited too. I think it was really potent. So yeah. And then is there anywhere specifically like people can find you? Is there MountShivaRetreats.com if people want to like be interested in a retreat? Like how do we...
Instagram, midnight_prophet, PROPHET midnight_prophet_.
Okay.
Cool.
Midnight Prophet _. And that's how they should reach out to you about if they were interested in doing a retreat. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, right there. We'll go from there. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Love that.
All right. I'm getting eaten alive. So, all right, everybody.
Thanks again, Shane. It's been a real pleasure. Yeah.
Let me know when it's ready. I'll put it out.
Oh, for
Cool.
sure.
Love
Yeah,
it.
it'll be a couple weeks, but yeah, for sure. All
No
right.
worries.
Thank you, everybody.